links to the HRI values. And the first one is about family. And what I'm going to ask you to do is vote on the poll, and in a moment I'll put it up for you, or Kirsty's going to kindly do that for me. And what you need to think about is which of the 3 questions you think is a lie. So the 3 questions, if they can go up now for me, please, Kirsty, thank you. She's going to launch the poll for us. And I'll just read them out for us as we wait for those to appear. So the first one is...
Sorry, Lucinda, it says you are logged in from another device. Your poll session is inactive, so you might have to do it.
Okay, fine. We can improvise. Let me just check that I can't do the poll for you. Oh, hang on. Right, I think I might be able to do it. Is it up?
No. I don't know why it's not letting me. It did earlier.
I can see it.
I can see it, Lucinda. It's up.
Well done. Okay, right. So phew. You know, just try and make everyone feel comfortable. You know, it's all been rehearsed to a fine degree, and then you have a Zoom technicality. So what we have here is if you can choose the lie, and in a moment, once I've had a chance for everyone to vote, and please just go for it, guys, because we want to keep to time here. 28% voted. Which one do you think is a lie? Did Ruth adopt twins when she was 40? Does Ruth have 5 children? Or was Ruth a teenage mother? So one of those is not true. As you can see, the link there is family. And in a moment, I'm going to close the poll. Because we're all people professionals here and we know there's high levels of integrity, the way it works with Zoom is actually we can't 100% tell who got the right answer. So when we end the polling, which I'm going to do now, and I'll tell you what the answer is, there's 16 of you that got the right answer. So of those 16 of you, 25%, you thought that Ruth adopted twins when she was 14, which is not true. Correct me if I've got this right. Not true. That means she has 5 children and she was a teenage mother, so she's got a lot done. She's clearly a good multitasker. So she adopted twins when she was 40. If you were one of the 16 who got that right, could you kindly just put Ruth and put your name next to it? And what we'll do is we'll gather that up, and then tomorrow those people who won, I say, these marvellous prizes, we'll pick it out at random, and one of you will get contacted for us to be able to work out how to pass the prizes on to you. So you can do that. If you're happy to put it in the chat, please do. Or if you want to message it directly to the organisers, you can do it that way as well. Yeah, and it's important if you put the Ruth, that just helps us because we've got other quizzes coming. Right, so that was a warm-up. Really appreciate you sticking with us there as we worked out the technology. Let's now move to Ruth to hear all about the HRI story.
Thank you, everybody, for coming. So the image, when we were rehearsing earlier, people said to me, where did the image come from? And it's not my image. It's Jo Malone's image. It's Jo Malone's happy place. And it's where she goes to. It's obviously in Greece. It's in Mykonos, I believe, to come up with new products and new ideas. And I thought to myself, goodness, if I'd sat there, you know, what things could I have come up with? So let me take you back and tell you a story about how we're all sitting here today and how an idea I had many years ago has actually turned into a business. 10 years ago, I was working in-house, a senior practitioner in a large organisation with a team, a PA, confined to the office, and travelling up and down the country, attending lots of pointless meetings. Many indies will relate to this, and thinking, is there an alternative? Is there something else that I can do? I wasn't allowed to work flexibly, which is one of our values and tremendously important to us indies. And I decided to negotiate a settlement and do something completely different. I wanted to do HR in a different type of environment, but I wasn't sure what. And I was approached about doing HR back in the banking sector or, you know, in a different type of environment, but it was still been quite corporate. So I decided to take the plunge and work for myself. I thought I'll be my own boss and I'll work for myself. My children at the time were 3 and 4, and I really wanted to be around for them. As you've just seen from the poll, I was a teenage mother. So my eldest daughter, you know, I had to get a job and work, and wasn't around for her as much as I wanted to be. So having another family, it was really important for me to be around. I'm always the one that works. And so for me, I needed to make it work, and it needed to be done properly. But did I do much planning? Not particularly. So I came up with a really interesting name for my business, Ruth Cornish Limited. Took me a long time to come up with that. And beyond that, the thing I mainly worked on was the values for my brand, because this was quite exciting for me. I've been an HR professional, people professional, for over 20 years, and it was my opportunity to do what I wanted to do in the way I wanted to do it. So my brand values from the get-go were independent, interesting, isn't it? Independent, progressive, and energetic. And the other thing I decided was that I wanted to work with individuals and with businesses. But beyond that, I did no business development, I did no marketing. I did my absolute best to keep what I was doing a real secret from any of my network. And, you know, that was one of the mistakes that I made. I did ring up the CIPD because I assumed that they would have some standards around working independently. And I realized that that wasn't their area particularly. Nevertheless, for the first year of working for myself, I would send out their code of conduct with my proposals because I wanted people to recognize that I had some standards and I was taking my perhaps direction from them. One of the most difficult things about being an independent is that you haven't really got anybody to talk to. You're completely on your own, and a real feeling of aloneness. And who do I go to if I've got a problem? There's always one client that changes everything. And for me, that client was notonthehighstreet.com. I was really lucky to be able to work in the early days with the female founders of that business and help them make things happen. I wasn't there to tell them what they couldn't do. I was there to help them just do what they wanted to do, say yes rather than say no. And it made me realize that actually my niche was going to be entrepreneurial HR. It was going to be working with fast growing or scaling up businesses and working with fast thinking, quick-minded people that wanted solutions and not lots of barriers. As I've mentioned, I decided from the get-go that I'd work with individuals, and at one time 25% of my turnover was working with individuals, predominantly doing what I'd done a lot of in my 20 years as an HR in-house professional, negotiating settlements, helping people raise grievances, and you know, at one time I was taking a percentage of it or charging an hourly rate, and I was good at it. I knew exactly how it worked, but also it was really great to work with in-house HR people because HR and HR work really well together. And then I discovered, to my absolute horror, that I was not only shouldn't be doing it, I was breaking the law, that I should have been registered with the FCA. And I remember phoning up the Claim Regulator Authority, which is now the FCA, and telling what I'd done. And they told me that I'd committed a criminal offence, which is not what you want to hear when you're an HR professional. So I quickly stopped doing it. But it made me realise that actually the HR landscape could be different. In-house and external HR can work really well together. And the traditional landscape of perhaps in-house HR working with trade unions, which are fading away, maybe there was time for something different. HR professionals have a very different approach to trade union representatives and to lawyers. 2 years ago, I joined 2 Facebook groups, and I'll mention them today. You might have people on there from them. HR Ninjas, founded by Liz Henson, and HR Freelancers, and realised there are lots of people like me out there, and that was a game changer. When I'd been working for myself for about a year, I was diagnosed with cancer, and I realised that I'd have to work with someone else, and I brought in associates, and it developed my business quite quickly, but perhaps not in the way that I'd intended. And the thing that was missing for me was having other peers that I could talk to. So some of these Facebook groups were really good, and then we developed our own HR Independence, which is going about 18 months now. Then I decided and thought to myself, could this turn into something more? What are all the things that I didn't have and wanted? And I had a vision, and I shared it with Katie, who's on the call today. Katie's my co-founder. And Katie, when I first mentioned it to her, she went quiet, just as I did then. I sent her a long email with my big idea about creating an organisation to support independent HR and people professionals. And she didn't respond immediately, and I nudged her, and she was thinking about it. And then she came back, because she's reflective, and she's very considered, as Katie, and said she loved it. And Katie gave me the strategic direction, the commercialism, her own energy and drive, and just about everything. And she's king of detail, and helped me turn it into reality. And then Katie and I worked on it for some time, and then we brought Mary in, who brings in a completely different skill set and has been invaluable, and we couldn't have done it without Mary. It was very important to us to share our plans with the CIPD because we absolutely are not in competition with them. We are here to collaborate, but we recognise that perhaps, you know, Their focus has always been on in-house large corporates, and we wanted to focus on a different area, a smaller area of their membership, and collaborate and work with them. So we have a great relationship with them, and Ben is speaking later on. So to conclude, because I hope I haven't gone over my time, our value proposition is simple. We are the experts in independent HR, and we know what good looks like. We are building a team of partners, experts, ambassadors, and assessors to support our members grow their businesses and their careers, because some of our members will be standalone HR professionals, and that's also a tough place. But we also want to shout about the benefits of working with independent HR and people professionals. Everything we offer is everything we wanted when we began our journey. Indies, as we call them, have a big contribution to make. It's where innovation starts. So we hope you like what we have created by Indies for Indies.
Wonderful. Thanks, Ruth. So I think it's a really inspiring story. I was really excited when these guys told me about it. I actually thought, well, why does it already exist? So it's fantastic what they put together. And just before we go on to our next guest speaker, I just wanted to remind you that I hope you've been listening carefully, because I did mention quiz, didn't I, earlier? Yeah, remember quiz? So some of the clues for the final quiz with the prizes are just going to get better and better. Some of the clues will be mentioned as we go through this presentation. And one of them you might already have heard. Questions whether you heard it or not. So do listen out and keep your eyes peeled, because the clues to our final quiz will be as we go through these slides and as the speakers present. Okay, so now I'd like to go on to introduce Preeti Nair. She's a storyteller, she's a speaker, she's a novelist, and she's also the managing director of Kiss the Frog, a storytelling company that takes creativity into organizations. So they're all about helping leaders tell fantastic stories that will create engagement, will create communities and culture change. Now, Preeti is also on the faculty at Cranfield University in London Business School, and teaches modules at the Financial Times. She's going to share her inspiring story with us, albeit maybe slightly briefly, but she's certainly going to share her story with us right now. So thank you so much, Preeti.
Thank you. So I am just going to share my story. So ever since I can remember, all I ever wanted to do was to be a writer, but I became a management consultant instead. And the defining moment for the career choice was when I was about 6 years old. My parents, both immigrants, spent their entire life savings on copies of the Encyclopedia Britannica. And every day after school, my dad would read passages of the Rule of Law to me. As I said, I was 6 years old, and every time I took out my colours and my pens, he would just say, no creativity in the house. So I studied really hard, got various degrees, and ended up as a management consultant in the city. And it's not that I disliked my job, it was just very mathematical. And I just thought there's got to be a different way of doing this. There's got to be more creativity. And I said to my boss, what about storytelling? What about visualization? And she was like, no, let's just stick to the facts, figures and numbers. So just as a creative outlet, I started writing a book. And it wasn't a book at the time, it was just some thoughts like, why do some people follow their dreams and why do other people not? And it ended up a book after 3 years. And I just thought, I just need to take a leap of faith. So I walked into work and I handed in my resignation, at which point my boss quoted me the statistics of all the people that make it as writers. And I sent off this manuscript to probably about 25 publishers in the UK. Unfortunately, or unfortunately, they all came back rejected. So it was the actual day of my leaving, and I just wanted my boss to tell my boss that I had nowhere to go. So I was dropping various hints. I didn't want to say, I've got nowhere to go, please give me my job back. I thought, I'm good at my job, she'll ask me to stay if I leave enough clues. And she didn't, she just watched me pack up my things, and the lift door opened. I pressed the lift button, I thought she's going to ask me now, it's just making me sweat a bit. And she said, have a really good career. And the lift door closed, and I got to the bottom, and I just burst into tears. And I was crying all the way home, because I thought, how am I going to explain this to my parents? Like, well, I gave up a well-paid job to follow a dream that has now not come to fruition. So I got home. I was living with my mum and dad at the time because I was saving for my first flat. And my parents asked me their normal questions. My father's was, did you have a good day at work? And my mother's, when are you getting married? So I thought, not a really good time to tell them that I've given up this job. So I thought I'd tell them at dinner. Dinner came and went. And then I thought, I'll tell them in the morning. And then I found myself putting on a suit and pretending to go to work. And I'm quite ashamed to say that that suit routine lasted about 8 months. So I'd put on a suit and go to work, and I had nowhere to go to. So I went to the library. And one day in the library, after 8 months and only so many books that you can read, I took out a piece of paper and I said, what would my ideal life look like? And I just put, I'm a best-selling author. My books are translated internationally. I have several films made, and it just was nothing like reality. And then I looked at the situation and I thought, I just need to come up with a strategy. What's the strategy? And it was just wrote down 2 lines. I'm going to self-publish this book, make it really popular, and sell it to big publishers. And I don't know how to do that, but I had enough time in the library. And very early on, I realized PR was a massive part of it. And I had no budget left for PR because I'd literally taken the whole deposit for the flat and put it into publishing, setting up the publishing company. So I took out another piece of paper and I thought, if I had the best PR woman in the world, what would she be like? And it would be feisty, fearless of rejection. And I named her Prue. And I gave her all the characteristics that I didn't have. So I set up another company, which was called The Creative House. So I had a publishing company called Ninefish and a creative house. Now, I'm not going to go into the list of problems because we'd probably be here for about 6-7 hours if I listed the problem of setting up 2 businesses under an alias, not telling your parents that you've actually given up work and that you're still working and you're putting on a suit and going to work. So endless. But to cut a very, very long story short, this part of the story, I managed to get the books, or Prue, my alter ego publicist, managed to get a mass publicity. I managed to get the books into the book charts and sold off the book to HarperCollins as part of a 3-book deal. And then Prue was shortlisted as Publicist of the Year. And I looked at the invitation and I thought, God forbid I win. I can't thank my author. It's been a dream to work with, my sales team, my marketing team, my editor. I didn't actually end up winning, but my publicist at HarperCollins won that year. And so it was a bizarre series of circumstances. And so after being published with HarperCollins, I was with them for about 6 years. I'm actually still with them, but I'd lost my passion, because going from a small independent where you have a book cover design, you can have say on whatever you want, to going to big publishers was quite a difficult thing. So I thought, what do I want to do? And I wanted to set up a company that took creativity back into businesses. Well, innovation through creativity. So I set up an open workshop, invited every single person along to this open workshop. And unbeknownst to me, someone from the Financial Times came along to it. And they said, oh, I think it's a fantastic idea. We're going to write about it in Thursday's edition. What's the name of your company? And I just said the first thing that came into my head. It was like, Kiss the Frog. And that was the name of my company. And I'm not going to pretend it was easy. It was one of the hardest things I've had to do, because I was 8 years in storytelling in an airy-fairy land. And my clients came immediately, bankers, lawyers, and it was horrendous. The first thing I did was an off-site for an investment bank. Just the worst experience. But it took me about 7-8 years to refine the product and to get it right, and to 3-4 years to actually know what I was doing and to feel confident. And by that time, I'm quite restless, and I always want to innovate and do something new. And it was time to move on. But that particular year, I had a series of not very pleasant events. Well, some of them were pleasant, but it was a little all too much. Like, my mother died, I had a baby, then I got married, then I moved house, and I thought, you know what, I just want to stay comfortably in my comfort zone. And the time to leave, I couldn't do it. And it took me another 3 or 4 years to say, you know, I need to go off and do something different. And then I heard a story that this lady told me, and just a very ordinary woman. And she was telling me how most of us pretend and how most of us spend a lot of time curating an image and making it look good on the outside. And really inside, there's an awful lot going on. And she told me her story, and I just wanted to tell it. So what I did, and this is going to sound incredibly bizarre, but I booked a theatre in the West End, and I wanted to perform it as a one-woman show. And I have never ever acted. I didn't even act at school, and I don't know why I decided to follow this particular thread, but it just felt challenging. I think for some people it's bungee jumping, and for me it was that. And I spent 18 months rehearsing to put this play on. And I put it on, and we sold out. We sold out for 1 run, 2 runs, and it was getting bigger and bigger. And I thought, you know what, I didn't want to be an actress. I just wanted to challenge myself. Anyway, one of the producers from The Crown came to see it, and she said, oh, I'd love for you to come in and to meet the team and to be able to write something perhaps for us. So I went in, met the team, and so it brings me to current day, where I'm currently writing for TV, and I've just finished my 4th novel, and I'm still running Kiss the Frog. I think it's taken a different, has more creativity, more innovation. So I think the message that I just want to leave you with is you have to take risks. And for me, I think you have to move out of your comfort zone. You have to be able to have vision and dream big, and not exactly know how you're going to get there, but take the first step in that process. And it's amazing what happens. I mean, the people that come along to help you, the things that happen, and of course you're going to face obstacles. That's part of the process. I don't know why we think that just because we embark upon something that it's going to be pain-free. I think the obstacles help us learn, and it's the biggest cliche, but they do help us grow, and they help us become the person that I think eventually that we're supposed to be. So thank you very much.
Wow, Preeti, that was awe-inspiring, very humbling, and how talk about take a risk with your house, and you know how young you must have been to do that. Thank you so much for sharing that story. I'm sad that we can't take personal questions right here, right now, but I'm guessing people can look you up on social media and that sort of thing and connect with you, because I'm sure many other people might want to engage with you. So thank you so much for that. So it is my job, I'm afraid, to keep things moving, which is, I feel sad about, but no one's going to thank me if I don't. We're now going to move on to our second quiz. Now, the upside of this is that the prizes are improving as we go through it, because actually you get one of Preeti's books if you're the winner of this story. And Preeti, you should check the chat, because I think people might be saying things to you in the chat, which is rather nice to see. Again, you're going to get complimentary silver HRI membership for a month if you're lucky enough to get these questions right. So let's see whether or not I can get away with launching a poll, and in a moment I'll ask the questions. Let's see. And this is going to be my challenge as to whether, I think I shared those results. Let's see whether I can find the other one. That's the other ones. Sorry. We didn't rehearse this bit. Okay, this is Katie poll. Right, okay, I'm going to launch the poll and I'll read the questions out at the same time. So another indie value is fitness. Could someone tell me that they can see this poll, please? Nod at me, Ruth. I can see your face at the moment. Is the poll there?
Yeah, it's there, Lucinda.
Thanks,
yeah,
Katie. Great.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
So again, remember, you're going to look for the lie in this. Not that we're trying to, we're generally truthful, 2/3 truthful here. The indie value is fitness. Which of these statements about Katie is a lie? So are we saying that she's represented the UK at handball? Is she a fanatical skier and goes twice a year? And does she do body combat every day? So have your choice here. And we've got 40% voting. I can't comment on the answer. Well, I know what the answer is, but I won't comment to bias it. Brilliant, you're nearly there. 67%, 68%. Just go for one. You might win the book. So come on, we're nearly there. And when it gets to 80%, I'm going to stop it. So go on, last few seconds, and I'm going to stop the poll. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. End the polling. Okay. So the majority, of course, is saying this might be a bit misleading because it's saying the body combat every day, and I've got to say, wow. That isn't the lie. Wow, Katie, I think we're all in awe of you here. So Katie does do body combat every day. Katie is also a fanatical skier. Therefore, the wrong answer, and again, coincidentally, there are 16 people who got the wrong answer, as in the right answer. So if you went for question 1 or response 1, Katie has represented the UK at handball. I have to be honest, I'm not even sure what handball is. I'm assuming Katie knows. Then please put Katie and then your name in the notes, and we will do the same fair hat, random pick out, and select a winner tomorrow from that. So well done for getting that, whoever got that. Great. Okay, so now we're going to move on to our second esteemed speaker, and it is fantastic to have someone from the CIPD. I think it's so important, to have that support from the CIPD, and really grateful to have Ben Wilmot, who's the head of public policy at the CIPD. His role is to work to inform and shape debate, government policy and legislation to help improve performance at work, increase performance at work, and also helping embed better pathways into work for those seeking employment. So the HR Indies, they really enjoy a strong collaborative working relationship with Ben, and they're absolutely delighted. They want to pass on their thanks, and I know Bruce will say thanks later. They're so delighted, Ben, that you've taken the time to come here and really to support the HR Indies. It's really, really appreciated, and I think it's so important for such a large community to have that support. So he's going to briefly share some insights into the benefits of external HR and its impact on business productivity and growth. Over to you, Ben.
Thanks very much. Many thanks for the invitation to speak. Whenever I talk to policymakers, I obviously highlight the fact that CIPD has 155,000 members. I always, who are critical to actually changing practice on the grounds, implementing employment legislation, designing, training managers, etc. But I also make the point that we represent about 15,000 HR consultants who work with small firms all over the UK, because that's one of the big challenges that policymakers really grapple with, is how do you improve the quality of management in small firms. And so that's really the context for my quick presentation. So conscious of time, if we push on to the next slide, please. So, as you're all aware, the pandemic has really exacerbated many of the UK's existing challenges, particularly around the UK's productivity and skills issues. Even before the pandemic, productivity had flatlined broadly for the last 10 years since the financial crisis, and we are, although lots of developed economies had similar problems, we are a negative outlier in terms of the sort of low productivity growth. We've also seen nearly 2 decades of falling investment in training in the UK. So some really ingrained issues which are going to be absolutely exacerbated by the pandemic, which we know is going to create an absolute employment relations perfect storm for organisations, and particularly small employers with limited HR support. Now, in 2017, the Bank of England's chief economist Andy Haldane published a really interesting piece of analysis, looking at the sort of productivity puzzles and the different causes or potential causes for the UK's productivity gap. And his analysis concluded that a lack of management quality was a plausible explanation for the UK's long tail of low productivity companies. And he found that there is a larger, longer tail of small firms with a low or even negative levels of productivity growth. And when we talk about small firms, we're talking about, in this context anyway, firms that employ under 50 staff. And I mean, this is really important because in the UK we have about nearly 1.3 million companies that employ between 1 and 49 members of staff, accounting for about 36% of total employees across the UK. So if you can't address sort of the management quality in those firms, then you're undermining your wider efforts to boost productivity in the UK. But what Haldane also found is that although small firms have quite often typically low levels of productivity, when they do grow, they tend to grow faster than large firms, even when it is from a lower base. And so I think it really demonstrates the sort of potential to boost productivity. And just another quick piece of data from the ONS, which came out in 2018, which based on 18,000 of survey 18,000 employers, and it found that management capability was a material factor for productivity, positive productivity, but it was particularly a number of people management practices that were most correlated with productivity improvement. So there is absolutely a growing evidence base that we need to understand how to address the management, people management capability issue within small firms. Next slide, please. I won't dwell on this slide because you'll all be aware of the particular challenges, but we know that SMEs have challenges around people management. They're time and resource poor. They are obviously often very reactive. They have frequently few formal HR practices, and they lack expertise and knowledge around people management. And finally, for me, a really big one is that they don't know what they don't know, and that what I mean by this is that they know that they need access to finance. They'll have an accountant. They know that they need to market their businesses, and they might know that they need sort of to develop the digital capability in their organizations. They won't typically recognize that managing people is really important. Actually, is a foundation for the success of their business, and so that's really what we try to do is really we've done some research where we've tried to explore how how do you deliver HR support to small firms, and what's the value of that. Next slide, please. So back in 2017, we with some funding from JP Morgan Foundation, we ran a number of pilots in Glasgow, in Stoke, and in Hackney, and where we provided up to about typically 1 day of free HR support to again small firms employing 50 or fewer staff. So in Stoke, how it worked was we worked with the Chamber of Commerce and the Growth Hub, where we had a coordinator in the chamber, and we recruited 6 CIPD qualified HR consultants to deliver the support. And it was either telephone or face-to-face support. And next slide, please. What we found was that getting the people management basics right is a crucial first step. So the program was evaluated by Manchester Met University, and what we found is that the level of support that these small firms need is usually quite basic. Some of them are really struggling with even the basics, like they haven't got written employment contracts in place. They don't have even job descriptions, written objectives. They don't have basic processes for managing absence, or they don't know how to recruit without the risk of discrimination. So that the sort of support we provided was our consultants was quite often getting these basics right. But what the evaluation showed was, even though that was the sort of support that's typically offered, it was potentially transformational. So it was associated with improvements in workplace relations, labour productivity, and financial outcomes in these small firms, reported by organisations compared to their peers. So those who received the intervention. What we also found was that it's the sort of relationships that matter. So it's the networks and the sort of skills ecosystems, because that's how you actually help owner managers to understand why they need this type of support, and also face-to-face support is absolutely crucial. Online tools certainly to start with have no traction at all. It's the context which is crucial, and understanding that the individual's business. long-term commitment, I think, from one for policymakers is required, that this doesn't happen overnight. You've got to almost educate owner managers that this is really important. What we also found is that providing this type of support can help boost demand. So 99% of the small firms that participated in the project had never had had not paid for any HR support before, but once they've had that initial support, they then understood the value and more likely to invest off their own bat. So we are continuing to talk to government, highlight the importance when they're thinking about productivity, about about HR people management capability in small firms. And we've just got a pilot which has come to fruition in Birmingham, which was funded by the Department for Business, which we'll be reporting on shortly. So I'm probably run slightly over. Apologies. Thanks very much.
And thank you so much. Again, fascinating. I think we could have spent more time listening to both of you. I just want to share some of the chats. I think you've really engaged people because they're also chatting about, you know, how we also as HR professionals need to make sure we don't make things overly complex for SMEs, which it's interesting you're saying it's about getting the basics there, which actually I think that also really reads into how the breadth of knowledge that you need to be an independent HR person or a standalone HR person. You have to have such breadth. You have to be commercial. You need to be able to coach. You need to be able to support on management basics. It isn't a narrow HR role at all. So in many ways, you could say that's almost more challenging than being in a role within a large business. It certainly, you had to bring a whole lot to it. And when your statement about 30% of the workforce falls into this category, is certainly it's great that CIPD are supporting this audience, people who are going to be supporting that kind of group of businesses. So thank you for being there. I'm going to let people read the comments themselves because the comments are going crazy. We'll come back to those and you can read and chat with each other there. I'm just going to keep going in the interest of keeping to time. Because I can smell my roast chicken has come out of the oven. No, I'm joking. So now I'd like to go back and hear from and second co-founder, and I'd like to hear from Katie McMahon, who's co-founder and director. Ruth explained earlier how you came to work together in this with this idea and how you brewed it up. But Katie's going to give us some of the details about what getting involved in the HR Indies looks like, what's in it for you, and what the proposition is. Here you go, Katie.
And I just need to turn myself off mute, don't I? That would help. Hi, everybody. Just before I get into sort of the areas that I'm going to cover, I also just wanted to go back to, obviously, you know, we welcomed Preethi on the call today. I also just wanted to highlight that we're also setting up some masterclasses that Preethi is going to be running with HRI. So details will be coming soon on some of those, and that's all about how we can work on our own creativity and really sort of help develop ourselves. So look out for those on the events page on the HRI website. So in terms of what I'm going to cover today, you've already heard a little bit from Ruth about the story of how HRI came about, what we're aiming to do. So I'm going to take you through some of the detail that we've put together to transform that story, that idea into a reality. We've talked a little bit about the value proposition. So if you can just pop onto the next slide for me, Lucinda. So this is just a little bit more on the value proposition of HRI. What is it that makes HRI unique? And really, the basic behind this is that we've developed HRI for Indies, and we've developed it because we're Indies ourselves. Both Ruth, Mary and myself, we all run our own independent HR practices. So we are Indies through and through, and we have developed this on the basis of our own experiences. We've kind of looked at our own experiences, we've brought that together and looked at what is the support, what are the resources, and what's the sort of the community that we know that you want to need. And the other thing is, we know what good looks like. All of the experience that we've had, we're pulling that together. And so we know what good looks like in this area. What does success together mean? So success together, just quickly on that. At the beginning of our story, one of the things we looked at is we spent some time just going through, you know, what is this all about? And success together is where we got to. But fundamentally, it means success together is us helping you to grow your business and to grow your business profitably. And we're going to do that by providing you with the right support, the right tools and resources, and importantly, additional revenue streams as well to build your practice, your business profitably. We'll be setting standards and we'll be driving those standards as well and raising the profile of the external independent HR and people profession. And what we really want to do is we want to shout about the talent within the independent community, because there is so much talent out there. And we also want to promote the benefits to businesses and organisations of working with external consultants as well. Again, as indies ourselves, we know what the obstacles are that we all face, but we also know what the opportunities are that we face as indies. And so we're really voicing those, and we're lobbying on behalf of our community and our profession as well. And really, to put it in a nutshell, we eat, sleep and breathe being an indie. And at the end of the day, we're here because we've got your back. So that's what we feel is really unique about HRI. There's nothing else out there that is doing that. And so that's what we see as our real value proposition. So Lucinda, if you can move to the next slide for me. So this is some of the detail behind it, or the nuts and bolts, as you put it, I think, Lucinda. So what is HRI all about, and how can you get involved? So we've developed 3 levels of membership for HRI, each tailored to meet the needs of you as potential members, and recognising and reflecting where you are on your own indie journey. So the first level is Silver, and that's really ideal for those who want some additional support to complement and support their day-to-day work. And importantly, it's also for any in-house professionals out there who may be working in a standalone basis and just want that support in the background. And Silver membership provides access to our HRI template library, which contains a great range of both HR and people focused documentation and templates, but also more commercially based templates as well. And that is around making sure that as a business, as a practice, you've got the right documentation in place to really support you running your business on a very professional basis. It also provides access to the Ask HRI help desk, and that is staffed by qualified HR and people professionals, and also provides access to our legal partner, Freeths, who are on the call, and you will get a shout out later, Freeths, and they'll be able to help with any sort of specific bespoke legal support that might be applicable. Our Silver members also have the opportunity to sell in the HRI shop, so any products and services, and then they can also use the online tool that we've developed and has kindly been provided by Lucinda and her team at Actus as well, around continuing professional development. We've then got our next level of membership, which is Gold, so that provides all of the benefits of Silver membership, with the additional access to our resource centre, our white label content area, and also access to a growing number of exclusive HRI partners. And these partnerships are something we've been working really, really hard to develop. And the idea there is to provide our members with those additional revenue streams. It's basically allowing you to grow your business in a profitable way. So really the Gold level of membership, it's providing the support and the resources to take your business, take your practice to the next level. And then finally, we have our Platinum level of membership, and that's our real premium level of membership. So as well as being able to reap the benefits of both the Silver and Gold membership, the Platinum provides members with the opportunity to have your qualifications, your professionalism and your experience really formally recognised. So we've developed our HRI accreditation standards, and following an assessment of you and your business against that, you'll have the opportunity to become a Platinum member, where we can feature you and your practice in the HR directory, which will be on our site. And that directory offers the opportunity for us to showcase all of the fabulous indies that are out there. And we're going to be promoting that to businesses, promoting it to businesses so that they know it's the place to go to find a qualified, professional, accredited HR and people professional. And they get that reassurance that whoever it is that they engage with has got the appropriate skills, experience, and standards in place. We spent a lot of time, as you can imagine, looking at what's the right level of pricing, how do we make sure that it's attractive, but that, you know, we can make sure that we offer the right level of support. So we've put our prices together, but we're also offering some early bird membership offers as well. So Gold is available at £49 a month for the first month, Platinum £79. And this is all obviously to encourage you all to sign up in the first month. So they're all available until the 31st of October. But as an added bonus, what we are saying is that if anybody does sign up between now and the 14th of October, we will also throw the first month's membership in free for you. So you can sign up on the HR website, you can go and have a look at more information, more detail, and I think, Kirsty, you'll probably pop the link in for people into the chat box. So yeah, hopefully that's given you a bit of an intro and overview. Lots more information on the website, which is now live, so feel free to take a look. But that's it from me for now, Lucinda.
Thank you, Katie. It's exciting, isn't it? So
it's very exciting.
It's really exciting. I've already got some questions coming through. So I was going to say over to questions, and actually there are some questions. So feel free to put questions in the chat, and we'll also take stock of some of the questions and then come back to them towards the end. So I just want to say, someone's asked a question about how long does the early bird price apply for? I think that's Sean. Do you want to just spell that out, Katie? I can see there's some information on the slides there. Do you want to just spell that out for people?
Yeah, so the early bird offers for the reduced gold and platinum membership, that is available between now and the 31st of October. Anybody that does sign up between now and the 14th of October will also get their first month free.
Great stuff. Now there's a couple more questions coming through about the help desk team and things like that. I'm going to let those come through because we did put this live and ask people earlier in the week about what questions they might have. Sorry, I've gone a bit trigger happy there. In terms of other questions that people might have coming through in terms of from social media. So I think Kirsty, you were going to just drop some questions in for me in terms of those. But while I just wait for those to drop in, let me pick some of them from the chat. Who will the Ask HRI help team be, or how does the help desk work? Who would like to take that from the team?
Shall I?
Go, Ruth.
So we have already signed up sort of senior experienced HR consultants, and of course we've got our employment lawyers, Reese, who are on the call today. The point about our help desk is it's not just about potentially HR issues, that might be commercial issues as well. Of course, one of our partners, which we'll name later, but our name now is Mazars. If there are issues in there that we feel we need to forward on to one of our partners, then we'll do that. So it's kind of covers lots of different areas.
Brilliant. I'm going to just take from here, and then I'm going to come back to those so we can take stock of the questions. What we will commit to do is, if there's more questions than we can handle and keep time, we can go on after the time for those who want to stay on, but we'll also put answers out tomorrow for people. So I can see those there. I'm going to let the team read those there. And forgive me if you answered this, Katie, because I was focusing on the chat. Did you explain how long the early bird, the £49 went for on the membership? Was it just for October, or was it for longer?
So that's, if you sign up to an early bird offer, that's for your first year of membership.
So it's for 12 months. So it's for 12 months. So that seems like a very good offer. If you
I've also just seen, just quickly as well, I've also just seen somebody had just said you have to sign up for the full 12 months and things like that. You sign up for the 12 months, yeah. So that's the plan. It's a yearly plan, but you pay on a monthly basis.
Okay.
With your first month free if you sign up quickly.
So as you would expect, there are lots of questions there all about the more nuts and bolts. And so I think the key is, I'm going to let you look at those because you can come back to them and answer them in one block in a moment. And actually, the thing is, that's great questions. It means that people are really interested, is the way I would see it. So let's just go back to a little bit of, well, our third director, and let's just go back to a bit of a quiz in terms of the poll. And I said the prizes are getting better and better. You get some HRI fudge and complimentary silver HR membership on this one. So what's magic about Mary? Let me raise the poll here. You know the drill by now. How we run this is, what do we think the false answer is? So this is, in terms of the theme here, this is linked to the indie value of fun. So of the questions we've got, does Mary have an autistic child? Or has Mary toured all African countries? Or is Mary an avid Chelsea fan? So which two are true? But remember, you're voting for the one that's false. So go on and go for your groups, go for the votes, and this is allowing, and keep the chats going. So if you've got the questions in the chat, please feel free to do that, because I can see the team are looking at those, and then I'll be able to come back to them and they'll answer as many as they can succinctly in a moment, and then we can come back and answer any others in a written format. Okay, so giving you a chance to poll there. Good. Oh, you've got the hang of it, up to 80% already. All right, so I'm going to end the polling. Ooh, more people got this right, so we're going to have a whole lot more people to go through after the fudge. There's potentially 30 people who are winners of fudge and a month's silver membership. So the answer, actually was the most popular answer, is whether or not Mary had toured all African countries. That was a lie. So the other two are truths, and the 30 people who got it right, if you can do Mary and put your name next to it. And just incidentally, there was somebody, I don't know if the team know them, if you put just Sarah or your first name, we might not know who that is. So if you could put your full name next to it, that would be really helpful, if it's, you know, a name where there might be more than one of you. So fantastic, thank you very much. And nicely leading in, let's hear from Mary and more about the partners.
Hello everyone, thank you for coming. Part of our HRI vision and ethos is to help our members to grow their own practices profitably and to develop as individuals. We have developed fantastic partnerships which will help us do just that. We have some of our amazing partners here tonight, and would like to give them a big shout out for believing in our dreams and for sharing in it and agreeing to be part of it. We are proud to be partnering with Fritz LLP. Fritz are a top 50 service commercial law with 13 offices across the UK. The Legal 500 and Chambers legal guys consistently rank their lawyers in their top tiers. We are very pleased to have Rebecca Sawbridge, partner, Fiona Goodman, and Lynn Ingram, managing associates, with us here today. Our next partner is Verifile Limited. Verifile provides pre-employment screening and background verification services, such as CV verification, qualification checks, and DBS checks, and many more in the UK. We are delighted to have the CEO of Verifile, Ale Ben Cohen, with us tonight. We also have Tom Belgreen, Business Development Manager of Verifile, with us here tonight. Our next partner is Mazars. Mazars support more than 1,200 clients with high quality payroll and pensions processing, delivered by a team of more than 55 payroll professionals, all based in UK. We're thrilled to have two of their partners here with us tonight, Matt Stark and Gareth Jones. We have partners, we have partnered with Women's Aid because Women's Aid do an amazing job at providing life-saving services and build a future, and to build a future where domestic violence is not tolerated. We want to help put a stop to this through our partnerships with Women's Aid, and also to raise much needed funds for this amazing charity. With us here tonight are Faye Conley and Cordelia Lodge, who are both fundraising partners of Women's Aid. Last but not the least, we have Actors. Actors have been incredible. Our amazing host, Lucinda Carney, CEO of Actors, immediately got what we were doing and what we were trying to create right from the start, and her support has been incredible. Actors provides award-winning performance management software and leading-edge technology solutions. So If all our partners could say a quick hello in the chat, that would be fantastic. Thank you. Over to you, Lucinda.
Thank you. I was doing so well. I think it was all those compliments and I couldn't work out how to unmute myself. So you know how it goes. We were doing so well at 25 past. So thank you so much, Mary, for going through that. And my apologies for not putting the slide up on time. So I can see there's so many questions coming through and probably more than we can address tonight, and actually some of them I think probably are worthy of maybe a webinar, guys, or a second sort of something that people could sign up to where you can interact more directly. I know there's a series of webinars that the guys have already got planned. Kirsty, I guess if there's a link to the web page where people can sign up for webinars, it would be great to drop that into the chat. And actually maybe this is what's here. So I'm just going to let Katie come on and see if there's anything you want to address now, Katie, as you're seeing what's coming through on the chat. In terms of the next steps, is there anything you want to follow in there? And I'll be quiet before I do the quiz at the end.
That's okay. Yeah, I was just going to say I've seen lots of questions coming through just on how some of the membership works. So I think the best thing is, yeah, what we'll do is we'll pull a specific Q&A together on all of these different membership questions. And what we'll do, everybody that's attended tonight, we'll be following up with them with an email, and we'll attach those. But what we'll also do is we're looking at doing some webinars and some Facebook Lives just in terms of covering some of this off. So we'll make sure that details of those go up on the website, and we'll send those out, because yeah, there's lots of questions and we want to make sure that we spend the time going through those. And again, people can get in touch with us via the website as well, and we can talk them through different options.
Okay, so and I think that's, you want to answer them properly and thoroughly, and there's actually probably too many to just deal with in a Q&A. In terms of that also, my sense, I think this is something which is quite exciting and groundbreaking in terms of collaboration of a group of people. So I'm sure also you guys are open to feedback from people as to how to make this work. Because I know it's having a professional body, about establishing standards, about supporting each other to be more successful and to have a voice. So it's a bigger vision than a franchise by quite a long way. And so that was certainly my perception of it. So I'm just going to hand over to Ruth to be able to give some thanks to people here and there before we go on to our final quiz, and then we'll be very close to finishing on time, which isn't bad for an event like this.
Fantastic. All right. So a few words of thanks. Preeti, you were inspirational, inspired me. You know, we can do it. We can go out there and make it happen. You might not know everything, but you can do it. Ben, absolutely great to hear from you in terms of some of the evidence that I've gathered about the benefits of working with HR and people professionals. Lucinda, you're just an absolute dream. Thank you so much for all your support, and also your fabulous team. And Lucinda, let me tell you this live. Watch the post for an exciting gift from the HRI team.
Oh, thank you.
Take a picture. All our partners, Breathe, Actus, Verifile, Women's Aid, and Mazars, who aren't actually, we haven't written them down because we're closing the legal agreement with them, and so we haven't written anything, but Mazars are very much part and have been involved from the get-go. Can we also say thank you to JJ and Dave at Cheeky, who have helped us with our brand and created our fabulous website. And then the HRI team, Guy, my husband, Matt, Katie's husband, Claudia, Kirsty, Nikki, Joe, Holly, Leah, and June, who's on the call tonight, have all been absolutely fabulous. Can we also mention the Gloucestershire Growth Hub, who supported us and helped us with some coaching, and our coaches online tonight, Andrew Callard. And thank you to all of you for taking the time to join us tonight. We really appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you, Ruth. And so finally, we have one last quiz, because this is, I have it on good authority that this is the prize that everybody is after. There is nothing more exciting than the HRI Mug of Inspiration, limited edition. So I'm going to launch our poll, which has a few questions here for you to go for in terms of this, and you've got to see whether you were staying awake earlier in the presentation. So the answers have all been covered, or most of them been covered through here. If you ask us nicely, I'll give you a clue on some of the these questions, but go for it. We've got our last quiz there, and look, it's 7:33. It's not far off. Once I've done this quiz, I'll launch it. We'll put the answers out there. We will work. We'll ask you to. Oh my goodness! I've just realised I'm going to have to check. I know all the answers to all of these. I have got them here. Then I'm just checking here, and then we've got a slide. We wanted to just emphasize the fact that Mary mentioned earlier, the charity partner Women's Aid, that also there's a bigger purpose there about helping someone else. So there is a link at the end that you can look at if you wanted to know a little bit more about them. So go for it, guys. Come on, let's go. 80% voting. I know actually it's going to take a while. There's a few questions. Just go for it. You might be really lucky. And I can tell you that if you, yes, you can't see the other ones. Lots of people are getting the first question right. Actually, and lots of people are getting the second question right, which is great. There. Oh yes, I think we've had a very attentive audience.
Final question.
Oh yeah, it should be. Oh my word. Okay. Right. 43% scores are flying up there. It's just me keeping you from these scores. So we've got to get to 80%, and then we'll whiz through the answers, and I'll finish on the last slide, and everyone can go and have their dinner or refreshments that they've been waiting for. Flying up there. We've got a very attentive group. Thank you so much for staying on. It's really nice of you, so many of you, to stay, and I think it's really very much appreciated, because it's nerve-wracking hosting something like this. So really, really grateful for everybody's support. Okay, we just need 2 or 3 more people to vote for all of them. So just go for it, guess through it. 76%. I'm going to close the poll in a moment. Come on, over the edge. Okay, stopping the poll now. Okay, what was Ruth's first? So listen to whether you've got them all right, okay? So Ruth, I'll launch it, sorry, share the results and make it a lot easier. Let's see where majority. So if you said Ruth Cornish Limited, you're in for the mug. I mean, if you also said HR Uprising, which is the name of the podcast that I host, then you're equally in for a mug. So you've got to get all of them right to be able to be in with a chance to get in the mug. If you noticed from the slide introducing Preeti, the name of her first novel, it was Gypsy Masala, which was on the slide. So far we're probably dwindling down a bit in terms of people. What level of membership gets you into the HRI accredited directory? And we'll give you more information on what that actually means. I see all those questions on that. It is platinum level. Yep, check my answers here. What percentage of the workforce is employed by micro and small firms? The answer is 36%. So that came from Ben's slide. So that will have cut a few down there. So we should have no more than 20 people so far that have got all of them right. Finally, the name of the HRI charity partner. Yeah, I might have given that away a bit, didn't I, saying that just as I was announcing the poll. So yes, lots of you got that one right. But remember, you've got to get 100% of the questions right to be in with the chance for a mug. Which of the following is not a prize tonight? No HRI teddy bear, which most of you got that. And then the final bonus question, which is, what is a TSB? And these are clearly people in the know, because I didn't know what that was. It's an expression used in the HRI Facebook page. And I'd love to know what it actually stands for, if anyone can enlighten.
I can tell you, but
I'd be very interested.
It stands for the shitty bits.
How
fabulous our lives are, but that's the reality.
Fantastic. So if you manage to get all 8 questions right, just put final and then put your name next to it, and you could be right in the end. Oh, I'm sorry, there's some people commiserating there. Sorry about that, Kerno Maid, if you didn't. But yeah, let's go for that, please. If you let us know if somebody got all 8 correctly, let's see who's going to be in with a final chance of getting this sought after mug. I'm just going to move on the slides, and I'll get rid of the poll. I think that will go. I'm never quite sure how to get rid of these things in the screen. I've got so many screens going here. Keep on putting that in the chat there. I'm just going to leave you with the slide about the charity partner. If you want to see more about, there's a video that you can actually watch here that Kirsty's going to post in the chat. There's a video which you can link on YouTube and understand more about the charity, and I'm sure understand why that was a worthy charity for the guys to want to support. So thank you so much for joining us tonight. Hopefully we didn't run too far over. Much appreciate your support, and do keep an eye out. We'll communicate with you more answers to the questions and answers. There'll be information about winners on social media, and you'll be contacted directly. And there'll be webinars. Just keep an eye out on the webinars that are going to come through, which there'll be some free ones. There'll obviously other ones which are part of membership that are available, but the guys will be coming out to you to tell you more about what this exciting opportunity is. Thank you so much for joining us.